My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 1, and this will be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen it, go and watch it, then come back and watch my review because I will be going in depth. Now, I first watched this show when it came out, and I fell in love with it immediately. I thought it was such a delightful, wonderful show, and I was curious revisiting it if I was still going to love it as much. And I don't love it as much, but I still definitely enjoy it, and it's all because of the marvelous Rachel Brosnahan. This should have been a star-making performance. Like, she is absolutely phenomenal here. She carries the show incredibly well, and she just captures that old-fashioned feel so perfectly. Her comedic timing is pitch perfect, and she's just so damn likable. So I think, I don't know how she hasn't been in anything big since, really. I know she's busy with this show, but hopefully when it's done, her career really takes off because she deserves it. And I do think the main character is written really well. I love how in the first episode, you can see how much she loves her husband and how she puts in lots of effort and how she doesn't get any appreciation back. And how her entire world crumbles as a result. I love that aspect, and it is really satisfying to see her succeed at comedy where her husband failed. Now, that said, I do have some issues with this character, which I'll get to in my negatives. But Rachel Brosnahan is certainly not a negative by any means. She is what makes this show so good. And then you've got Michael Zegan, who I think does a really good job as Joel. I love how he highlights his insecurities and weaknesses. You can just tell that Joel has a really fragile ego. He leaves his wife because he didn't do good at the comedy club. He is a sad, pathetic person, and I love how the show doesn't shy away from that. But that said, it does make it difficult for me to root for them in the last episode to get back together when he's just shown no real growth. But that said, the performance is great and the character is well written. Then you've got Alex Borstein, who I think does a great job as Susie. Susie is so different from Miriam in every possible way, so it makes for a good pairing between the two of them, and I like her, she's a smartass. Then you've got Maren Hinkle, who plays Rose, Marian's mom, and I think she does a really good job, especially one scene in the last episode. Then you've got Tony Shalhoub, who, aside from this, I haven't seen in all too much. I've seen him in Spy Kids as, is his name Minion or something like that, where he gets the 6 heads? That used to terrify me as a kid. And I think he was in Galaxy Quest, which I haven't seen since I was a kid either, but he is great in this show. He's not in it a ton, but he's just got such perfect comedic timing, and he just does it so effortlessly. But then one other actor who I feel never gets talked about in this show is Luke Kirby. He is fantastic here. He steals every single scene he's in, and that's saying a lot. He's just so effortlessly cruel and funny and witty, and I just love his performance. So the entire cast does do a great job, and the writing behind these characters is really strong. It's not a plot-based show by any means of the imagination. It's character-driven, and I think that works better for the TV format. And I also think the directing is really strong. They capture that old-fashioned feel so perfectly, just in the look of it and how certain colors really pop. And it's just got a nice energy to it. I think this show's got a great soundtrack. It introduced me to the song Girls Talk by Dave Edmunds, and that song is a complete banger. I love it. I also think this show does have some funny moments. There's one part where they're going to a comedy show, and the ventriloquist guy I thought was really funny. There's this one scene where the family gets into an argument at church, and I thought that was really funny. There's one scene where this manager at the Gaslight is Sandy. He's getting into a fight with someone who works there, and then it turns out that's his wife. That was a really funny moment. So this show is pretty funny when it needs to be. I think the pilot is great. It sets everything up so perfectly. And I think this season also ends perfectly. The last 10 to 15 minutes of this season, well, Miriam is given her best set yet, and Joel's watching her, seeing how successful she is. It's just a perfect ending to this season. But I do got two big negatives with this show. The first one is, even though Miriam gets really good at comedy by the end, whole stuff at the beginning I didn't find all too funny at all watching it this time. It just relied on shock humor of saying fuck and talking about sex, and it's just not that funny. And I know it's supposed to show her growing and getting better and better at it, and it's successful at that, especially at the beginning of, I think, episode 7, where we see her learning from the previous night and making better and better jokes. That was actually a really terrific moment, the beginning of episode 7. But for a while there, I thought it was difficult to root for her in comedy because I didn't find her stuff to be funny. But my other big issue of this show is the fact that they decided to give her kids. I think it actually ruins a lot. Because she was married to Joe, they had kids together, and the show never focuses on them at all. They're not important, they're not relevant, and we never see the mom actually being a mom. She just treats them like a nuisance, like a distraction. And that really does annoy me because the whole point of this show is that we're supposed to root for her to do comedy, but it's tainted by the fact that she completely neglects her kids. Like, she can succeed in all her life goals, all she has to do is ignore her kids and be a terrible mom. And it doesn't sit right with me. You know, each episode is long. You could edit some stuff down a bit and put some time into her trying to be a good mother on top of everything else that she's trying to do. I really wish the show did that because some of this stuff just, it doesn't sit right with me. But this is still a really good season of television. The cast does a good job, but Rachel Brosnahan, Luke Colby, and Tony Shalhoub are the standouts. They're absolutely incredible. The show is funny when it needs to be, it's charming, it's well directed. I like all the supporting characters as well. I do got some issues with the handling of the main character, and I wish she spent a bit more time trying to be a good mom, and I wish her jokes at the comedy club were funnier at the start of the season. But nonetheless, I definitely recommend this, so I'm going to go ahead and give season 1 of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel a marvelous 7 out of 10. Okay, have you seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.